Let's bring in former White House official for President George W. Bush, Ashley Davis. Ashley, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well, Ashley, but this has definitely caused a lot of controversy because not everyone is pleased with the move that President Biden is making.
Absolutely. And I do think that this is something that's very personal to President Biden. Obviously, he is very religious, and this is something that he's actually talked to the Pope about. The Pope has spoken to him about. I think the reason that this has been 100% more in the forefront is because of what he did in pardoning his son. But what concerns me, and there's a lot of emotions around this issue, and so I respect and understand both sides in general of the death penalty and an eye for an eye, so to speak. But what concerns me the most, I would say, is undermining the actual judicial system, the federal judicial system and the court. So he's really overturning what the intent was for the courts. And so does this weaken the courts more than anything else, taking out the emotion of the issue?
And Ashley, some of these were actually adjudicated with a jury of their peers. It almost strips them of their agency as well.
Absolutely. And so I do think this is going to continue to be a very controversial issue for him, but I'm not an expert on President Biden, but I do have to say that this, again, is something that's very, very personal to him from a religious point of view. So,
Ashley, do you believe that this was a decision easier to make, seeing how Democrats will not hold the White House next term and that he is not doing another term as president? Is this a move that was easier to make? Can he make this move without the absence of politics in the back of his mind?
no, I think he knows exactly, but I also think that he has a different frame of mind since what happened right before the election with him getting pushed out in regards to his age and some of the sicknesses that he has. So I think even what he did with his own son, I mean, obviously that was going to be something that was very controversial, but I think he's thinking, I don't have that much time left on this earth, and so I have a couple more weeks of power, a couple more days of power at this point, and so I'm going to do what I want to do and what I believe in and suffer the consequences. Obviously, there is a huge, my old boss, President Bush, used to say, let history determine how you do as president. And so I think that that's something, and obviously people like George Bush now than when they did it in 2008.
That, and we've talked about you. It seems like the romance.
Biden, I'm sure he's thinking the same way.
And we've talked about the relationship between he and Michelle Obama with the mints and candies back and forth at different events as well there.
Oh, yeah, they're still very close. So I think it's a great relationship, which is nice.
Ashley, I do want to shift subjects here for a second and talk about President Trump, because over the weekend he also made headlines suggesting that the U.S. could reclaim control of the Panama Canal, also posting that this is in America's national security interest to purchase Greenland. What do you make of this? Is he serious, or are these just ideas, some kind of tactics before he gets into office?
You never quite know, but I do think he's serious about Greenland. I was reading something again this morning about this. I mean, obviously that's because of the strategic location of where it is. And so we could put significant amount of our military presence there to protect the country before anything reaches our country. So it sounds like kind of crazy from just a talking point, but if you look into the details a little bit, there is some strategic sense. I think in regards to the Panama Canal, obviously this has been an issue for decades. I also think because of what's happening right now in the Red Sea and other places in regards to our ships having to go around the Horn of Africa to deliver goods, that he's kind of making this threat, which you've seen several times before he's even been sworn in regards to putting a marker down of coming to the table and negotiating with him when he becomes president. You saw it obviously with the tariffs with Mexico, you saw it with Canada. So I think this is a little bit of his negotiating tactics, but we'll see.
Oh, we definitely will see, Ashley. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.